Okay, so and is that the strategy now? So given where we are right now with this sort of uncertainty, is buying a straightforward purchase and then putting into auction the strategy now?
I think it is. It's very, there's a lot of sort of, I don't know if hype's the right word for it, but there's a lot of attention around it at the moment. And I think the market is sort of in a really good place for that, where you've got really motivated sellers that like need their money tomorrow. And you'll have that in any, market conditions, but it's really difficult now for them to offload it in a really fast paced way. Whereas if you've got the resources to buy that and turn that around very quickly, there's opportunity in that, particularly if it's maybe got a bit of a sticky situation, or, it's got a tenant in, or, stuff like that, it makes it difficult to sell in a traditional way. That's where those opportunities lie. And I think particularly with, the tax change, Section 24, and landlords looking to offload with the Renters' Right Bill and all this sort of stuff, there's a lot of opportunity out there for that type of stock to really get in there with the trade. Obviously, the trade for me, I had a relationship with that landlord, so that's something that I'd cultivated, and that's how I generated that lead. But I know a lot of people that are sort of targeting that specific type of house to use that strategy with.
Yeah, so in particular, potentially landlords who are exiting the market, who've got these properties that haven't been invested in over the years and are now, problem properties.
So
Was there a reason that the vendor didn't look to auction this themselves? Or
I think just a peace of mind and ease, that he didn't want to have to deal with an agent to go around and then potentially viewings and stuff like that. He just wanted peace of mind that, for him, it would have been probably a month or two to arrange an agent to go around to get it listed. Whereas for for me to buy it, it was a phone call, and it was like, yes, I'll have it, straight into conveyancing, completed within, 4 or 5 weeks. So it was that sort of simplicity that he wanted and required, which that's kind of where that motivation sat with him.
okay, and we interestingly we've done some interviews recently where people are doing a lot of these kind of projects, but on an assisted sale basis. So they're not even kind of buying the property necessarily to sell on. Is that something that you've been looking at, or?
Not so much assisted sale. I'm very aware of the strategy. I think it's a great strategy and fits into that trading model perfectly. And I think when you're approaching deals, I think you've just got to listen to what the motivation of the seller is, and you've got to understand, okay, what have I got in terms of, how do I position this available where we can find a middle ground with this individual. Obviously, an assisted sale with the deal that I bought wouldn't have been suitable because he would have had to wait. But in a different scenario, it might have been that I underwrote that in the auction. So for people that aren't familiar with an underwrite, you essentially guarantee. So in this case, if you needed 55 or 55, we'll say, you underwrite the deal. So if it sells for 45, you have to buy it at 55. That's how the underwrite works. However, the upside of that is if it sells for 93, you might agree 50-50 with the vendor, or, 75-25 in the vendor's favor. It's all negotiable. You would keep the uplift of that auction sale price. So anything between 55 and a 93, if you agreed 50-50, obviously you'd get 50% of that. It all depends on the auction house that you use. Some don't allow that, some do. Sometimes the auction house takes a cut as well. So you've just got to figure out, how that fits. And then obviously you've got assisted sales, you've got overages, which is essentially you secure it at 100,000 and you sell it for 110 to another landlord or developer. So there's so many different ways to sort of skin the cat in the trading business, but it's having that kind of arsenal of, hey, let's listen to what the vendor's saying. Let's understand exactly what their motivation is, how quickly they need to move, what they're trying to gain from this, the transaction, and try and find that middle ground and win-win scenario for that landlord or vendor, or whoever it is.
Learn from people who've been there and done it. Real investors, real lessons. ypn.plus.